Hey guys, this is the second part of the GUI programming. Let's see what we got for this lecture. So in the previous lecture, we learned the basics of GUI programming and we introduced the JavaFX, what it is and what are the building blocks of JavaFX application. And we continue in this lecture with the layout pane which we introduced last time, but we go in detail into it, and also we learn how to draw shapes. What is layout pane? So what we learned before, we learned that how to add layout panes to the scenes, and we learned that layout panes or layout managers are some smart piece of code that they can manage and locate whatever you add to that container. All right. So, and also we learned that layout panes are node type. All right. And also we have several built-in layout panes. We mentioned that, but here is the list of the all of the layout panes that we have in JavaFX, and we go briefly into each of them in the different sections. Let's start with the Hbox. Hbox, in the previous lecture, we know how it works, all right? And we know that it's a region that when we add new nodes, they will be arranged in a horizontal way, right? From left to right, all right? For example, if this is the region, then if we add the child 1, child 2, child 3 will be added in this manner, all right? So in this lecture, I want to add something new. So in this way, look at this. So there is no space here. And the region, there is no padding between the node and the the edges of the region like this. So if we want to add something like this, first we need to understand what is the new concepts of the spacing and padding, and then we will be using them in our code. Okay. So spacing and padding. So spacing means when we add a space, it means that we want to separate the nodes like this. And if we add padding, it means that we want to make some room between the node and the edge of the container. All right. So we will have padding top, padding right, padding bottom, and padding left. All right. So if we have another child on the right side like this, then padding will be disappear and just spacing will be applied. All right. Okay, so here's our goal. We want to uh, create a Hbox like this, and here is the code. But I'm gonna show you a live demo and see how we can do that. To save some time, I copied this portion from my other code and clean it up. And also, yeah, we need to clean up this import. Control Shift O will clean up the imports. All right, so let me see. Okay, so this portion is always the same. We create a scene and then we add this scene to our primary stage and then we show it, right? And we need to change this according to our window. Another thing I want to add here is I want to add a title for our window. So primary stage uh, let's add, let's say, set title like this, and we would need a string here. Okay, so to make it a little bit more professional, let me uh, use this title, and I'm gonna define it here as a constant. So private final static string title equal to, let me call this as Hbox, something like this. Okay, so I created an Hbox, I instantiated an Hbox here, and I created two buttons, cat and dog, based on our requirement here. And also, I added these two buttons, cat and dog. So I, invoked the get children of the Hbox, and then I added all of them. And this is a, very good method to use in just one statement. You can add whatever, you need. All right. So up to this point, let me run the code. So we would say run as an Java application, and we will get something like this. All right, so the Hbox and the cat and dog. I don't like this color. Let me add, make it a little bit colorful. So I am gonna add, let's say here, for example, um, the Hbox probably here it's better. When I instantiate it, I would like to make it a little bit colorful. Let's say set a style, and we would need to add a style here. All right, so let me copy it from here, from my other code for simplicity and saving some time. All right, so let me run it one more time. There we go. Now it's a little bit more beautiful. All right, so our next goal is to add some spacing here, and some spacing and also some padding. All right. Okay, so let me, yeah, let me run it one more time because I want to keep this as a, sample to show you that how it will be changed. All right, so let me add some uh, spacing first here. So we are gonna add, all of the settings of the Hbox goes here. So Hbox set spacing, okay, which is this, and we need to add a double here. So the spacing, let's say 10, uh, 10 pixel, right? So now let me run it again, and you see here the difference here and this the previous one. So we can add spacing. Now we want to add some padding as well. So Hbox set padding. So it needs an in sets, right? So we need to create a new in sets, and for the new in sets, we need to provide four numbers. Let me add 20, 20, 20, and 20, something like that. And yeah, in sets it doesn't understand that. Just import it from the JavaFX. Be careful about this. All right, let me run it again. Okay, now we have something like this, and to be able to compare them from the beginning. No spacing, no padding, and we got now this. All right. So now let's see what we got here. All right, so we got our goal. Actually, you can change the width and height of the stage. I mean, and then you can have something like this. So Vbox is pretty much the same as Hbox, but the direction of the locating the nodes instead of the horizontal will be vertical. All right. So something like this. All right. And the concept of the padding and spacing is exactly the same as Hbox. To show you that how similar they are, I'm gonna just copy and paste this and just call this as Vbox. And let's see how much change we would need to apply. So this is the our Vbox. Uh, yeah, just change this as Vbox, something like that. And also, of course, we need to import it. And when you import something, yeah, you will have some extra things. Control Shift O to clean up the imports. So you see, all of them is the same. Let me just run it and run it as the Java application. So for the first time, when you want to run it, you need to go through all of these procedures. So run as, but the next time it will understand. So this is the our Hbox, and because we didn't touch this style and spacing and the padding. Yeah, the same thing applied here, but in the vertical. All right. Okay, so our next pane um, is stack pane. This is one of those interesting ones. So we use this layout pane when we want to stack some of the nodes over each other, right? So we overlay the nodes on each other. So for example, here, look at this. So let's say that you have this image which is a node, and then you want to overlay uh, button over that. So in these cases, we will be using a stack pane. Okay, so here's the code, but let me show you a quick demo. So I'm gonna copy this. Let me refactor this first. I wanted to call it to Vbox, and yeah, just okay. So I'm gonna copy this and paste this, and so let me call it main3 stack pane. All right, so look at this. We will need an image and one button that say click me. So I have two buttons. Let me get rid of them. All right, and also let me call it click me. And this click me goes here, and also it goes uh, here. Okay, so what else I need? The stack pane, needs an image. All right. Okay, so let me first I copy an image that I have already um, copied from, I mean, downloaded from the internet. Okay, so how can we organize our resources? So image is a resource. I would suggest that we create another package under the application, and let's call it application dot resources, and we put all of our resources here. So let me paste the image that I have already created here. So image one, JPEG. Okay, so I would need to first to get it as an image. All right, how can we do that? Very easy, easy, sorry. Image, let's call it image equal to new image. All right, so now we need to get that file. How can we do that? So here is the technique that I use. So since that image is located in somewhere else, right, we need to address that, the address of the this image. So how can we do that? Usually I use this technique. So I get class, and then I get resource as the stream like this, and then I'm gonna give the address of that. All right, so the address of that would be the application resources, and its name is image1 JPEG. All right, okay, so first let me add this guy. Import from JavaFX. Yeah, this. So we are good here. And if you are asking for, so what is this get class is coming from? Yeah, just imagine that this our class is extending the application. And every class in Java extend from a mother class that we call them object, big O object, that we will cover in our next lectures later. So this method is coming from that mother object. All right, so and then get resource as the stream, and we just need to mention the address of this guy. So look at this, that the root of your application is actually the source. So the root of the application is source. So after that, you would need to uh, start from the application, and then these resources is inside the application, and in this way you can um, address the image. But the image is an image, it's not a node. So how can we create a node from an image? Yeah, we have a node called image view. Yeah, image view equal to image view, and then we can pass that image and create a node, a JavaFX node. And of course we need to import that first. Yeah, JavaFX. Okay, and then we need to add it here. Okay, so we still have Hbox. We don't like that. So we wanted stack pane, and here again stack pane. Okay, we need to import that. Okay, so yeah, set spacing doesn't make sense. So we remove that, and the rest of that looks like makes sense. Um, for being a little bit more professional, let me refactor this. Let's call it as a very generic thing. Let's call it root. From now on, we call it root. So, all right. Okay, so we set the style, which is the background color of the container, and we added some padding here. We just really don't need the padding here, but let's keep it. Yeah. The image and the button. Okay, so let me call it click me based on the requirement. So we added a little bit the width. Let me make it bigger, and also its height. Let me add a little bit height to it. So, but yeah, let me make it here. And I think we are good. Um, Probably this size is not good, but yeah, let me run it and see what would happen. So for the first time, always use this technique. Yeah, as I um, guessed, it does not contain the whole picture. All right. So yeah, this font is not good. So let me create this font a little bigger. And also you see here the background of the container is still cyan. All right, let me add a font here, which is where is my button? Click me button here. See here. All right, click me. Let me set font this guy, and I would need a font here. Very easy, new font. And for the new font, you would need the name of the font. Let's call it Arial, which is famous, and the size of the font. Let me make it as 30, and we would need to import, and be careful again, JavaFX. Okay, so let me run it again. Yeah, the size is still there, and but the bottom is good, not bad. All right, so we would need to change this size. How can we do that? Let me get the size of the image from the image. So how come? So the image, let me get the width first, and instead of this, I would say image get the height. All right. So instead of predicting that what's the size, you just, get all of the information from the image itself. All right, let me run it again. There we go. So it, yeah, use the whole size of the image like this. All right. Okay, so this is the stack pane. Let's go over the other stuff. The next layout pane is called flow pane. So these flow panes works in two different mode, horizontal and vertical. So in this case, by using uh, this layout manager, we can put the nodes like this. You see, this is the horizontal mode, and this is the vertical mode. And if we change the size of the window, it will adjust itself accordingly. In the next slide, you see, so if this is the horizontal mode, the horizontal, you see this one, two, three, and then since it didn't have enough room, so it puts the 4 and 5 here. And if you are working in this mode, and you see 1, 2, this is the vertical mode, right? 3, 4, and 5. So bottom line, it flows all of the nodes based on the size of the window. Okay, all right. So here is the our goal, and let me show you a quick demo. But before that, look at this. So we have the same concept of spacing and padding, but here we call it V gap or a vertical gap, which is this guy, and also horizontal gap, which is this guy from here to here. All right, and the padding would work the same thing. So you can adjust the the edges of the nodes and the container. Okay, let me make another copy and paste here. So stack pane, let me copy from let's this VBox. All right, copy and paste. Probably shortcut works better. So let's call it for um, flow pane. Okay, and this flow pane. Okay, so we forgot to change this. So flow pane like this. So that this is the title of our window. All right. So here we would need this flow pane. Control C. So and definitely we need to import that. Okay. So yeah, we don't need this image anymore. Okay. So for the buttons, we would need 5 buttons, you see, and we just, we want to simplify everything. So let me create a method, a private method that it creates the buttons. Yeah, let me just copy and paste from my other code here, something like this. All right. Okay, so create button. So we just pass the name and the preferable width and height, and this static method will return a button. All right. And we will be using these buttons here. Okay, just to save some time, let me copy and paste here. So we create 5 buttons by calling actually this static method, right? So the name of the buttons and their width and their height. So you see the first one has different height and the last one has different width. Okay, so flow pane and yeah, adding this to our flow pane here, something like that. So all of these buttons are being added to this, and the style, yeah, let's keep that. And let me first remove, comment this padding. And how about the next one? Yeah, we don't need this anymore. So we have our own method. And how about this? Yeah, let me return it back to, let's say, for example, 325, 0, something like that. Okay, so I think we are all set. Yeah. Uh, yeah, cleaning up this Control Shift O again. All right, I think we are good here. Let's go ahead and run it and see what we got. Yeah, we got this. All right. And you see when we uh, resize the window, it adjusts itself accordingly. So this is the horizontal mode that by default this layout manager or layout pane is set. So this is the default one. If we want to, rearrange it vertically, then we would need to specify it here accordingly. Yeah, it doesn't matter here, but here it says root, let's say orientation, set orientation, and we would need to specify an orientation. Fortunately, there is an a static constant for this orientation dot. So you see horizontal, vertical. I'm gonna change it to vertical because by default it is horizontal. And in this way, if we run the code, we get something like this. Yeah, so this is the vertical one, and this is the horizontal one. Yeah, okay, probably this way. So this is the vertical one. All right. Okay. And also, if we add this padding that we just uh, commented out, then we would see, oops, all right, so it needs the insect, import the JavaFX, and we are good here, and we run it again, and you see here the space between the edges of the node and the container, something like that. All right, so you might wondering that how can we separate this node? Then we will be using the vgap and hgap. All right, so let me clean up here. So here we would say root set vgap. You see here. Let's vertical gap, let's say 10, and then let me copy that. So set the h gap horizontal. Let it make it a little bit bigger to be able to see it. All right, another run, and there we go. All right, so this was the previous one. Here we just had the padding. Now we have the V gap, which is this vertical gap, which is 10, and the horizontal gap, which is 30 pixel. All right. Our next layout pane is called tile pane. Tile pane, uh, it creates, some a very neat grid of the cells. All of them are the same size, something like this. Okay, so you might say, okay, they are not same size, but they are the same size, but it adjusts the size based on the size of the node. For example, this guy has longer, or it's a bigger width, it's the widest the node, then it adjusts all of the size of the nodes based on this width. Okay, so if we have another node whose height is bigger than this, so then it you know it gets the height from that the bigger one, bigger heights. So in other words, in a summary, the size of the cells will be adjusted based on the longest width and the longest height. All right, so here is another example. As I just explained, you see that this guy is a little bit higher, highest one. So the size of the grids will be adjusted based on the height of this and the width of this. That's you see that there are so many, I mean, there are so many gaps here. So if let me show you how the grids is working now. So probably something like this. So the grids will be something like this. All right. Okay. So let's see how it works in the code. Yeah. So the tile pane, we still using the V gap and H gap concept, and the padding is the same thing that you learned before. All right. So let me show you quickly how the tile pane is working. I'm gonna use the same code of the flow pane because they are they are very similar. So let me copy and paste it. I will call it 5 and tile pane, right? Okay, so let me first change the title. mm, Tile pane. We would need this static method for creating the buttons. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can just minimize that like this. And here I'm gonna use the tile pane and see how much we need to change. First, we need to uh, import, and looks like there is not that much changes here. So fantastic. Let me just run it and see how it works. Yeah, there we go. So we would need, of course, to uh, change the size, something like this, and it will adjust itself like this, right? All right. So in this way, that it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't show because the size is not like this. You see? All right. So this is the tile pane. You might wondering that what is the difference between tile pane and the flow pane that we learned in the previous slides. So here's the difference. I put both of them side by side. So here we have the flow pane, and here we have the tile pane, and both of them have the same, buttons, and there is no V gap and H gap. I removed all of them, and you see. The difference is the tile pane try to create the same size of the cells for everything. So if we want to just create this, so you see here, if I can create that correctly. So this is the actually this, the same size of the grids here, right? Something like this. But in the flow pane, it doesn't need to have the same size of the cells. Look at this. So it just make a flow of the nodes and it arranges like this. Our next layout pane is Encore Pane. Uh, with this layout manager, you can anchor some nodes to the top, right, bottom, left, and right. So here is the example. You see here, we anchor this number 2 to the right and number 1 to the left, number 4 to the top, and number 3 to the bottom, but with different settings. All right. So when you resize the window, all of these nodes preserve their position relative to whatever you encode them. And here is the code, and let me show you a quick demo. Okay, I'm gonna make a copy from this child pane. Let me call it number 6 and Encore Pane. Okay, so for this layout manager, I would need this button. I would need actually 5 buttons. So let me get rid of this one. And okay, so let me change the title to the Encore. And also we would need to change these guys as Anchor as well. And of course we need to import. All right, so the orientation doesn't make sense for this. The gap, we don't have them. And also, yeah, we need to get rid of this bottom 5. Okay, so but this is not the way that we want to anchor. Um, so even though this works, but this is not our purpose here. Okay, so to anchor a node to a position, we would be using a static method, Encore Pane. We can say set top anchor, for example, set top anchor, and we need to pass the uh, the the um, the node that we want to set. So let's say, for example, the bottom button 1, we want to anchor it to the top, and let's say we need to give a number. It's a double number that it is the distance of that um, node to the edge. So let's make this as a 10, and okay, so let me see. So it is complaining because, as I said, it should be double. Just add a D, and we are done here. Okay, so let me anchor it at the same time, Control D, to the left, let's say, left anchor. So instead of this, so it is anchored to the top with the distance D, and let me change this to something else to be able to distinguish what's the difference. And at the same time, it is anchored to the left with 30 pixel. Okay, we can do the same thing for button 2 and button 3. Okay, so let me make a copy here. And so the button 2, let me anchor it to the right, and with, let's say, 10. And also we can anchor the button 3 to this one, let's say bottom. Mm. right? And also the button 4, let's make it 40 or 50, and the left, right? Yeah. Okay, so now let's run the code. There's no problem here. Right. So run as a Java application, and we get empty, and the reason is because we didn't add the buttons um, to the layout manager. So let me copy this and put it here somewhere. Let's say, for example, here, and let's get rid of this. Okay, one more time. We There we go. So we have this. Okay, so look at this button 1 here. Um, we anchored it to the top with the 10. So this is the difference between here to 10, and to the left with the 30 pixel, and the rest of that you can figure it by yourself, right? Okay. Our next layout pane is grid pane. So as its name is saying, it has some flexible grid of columns and rows. Uh, so here's the example. And to work with this, you should know that this is something like a matrix, and you need, when you want to add a node to this grid pane, you need to address the column and the row, and exactly the column and then row, all right? And also the V gap and H gap is the same as before, we mentioned it before. All right, so let me show the code here. You see here, we created this grid pane here, and then when we want to add the button 1, we should say that 0, 0. So here it means that column 0 and the row 0. And we added the button 2 to column 1 and row 0, and so forth. You can go over this, and also we use the set V gap and H gap like this. So these are some examples very similar to previous thing that we learned. The only difference here is that when you want to add a node, you need to use a matrix wise um, addressing. All right. So I'm gonna make a copy from this tile and Control C V, and let's call it 7 grid pane, and also let me change the title as grid pane, and also we need to change the layout manager here and here, and import it. And okay, so the orientation doesn't work that way. And let's see. So the padding concept is the same, is the set V gap and H gap is the same. All right, so um, just the adding, yeah, this adding is working fine, but this is not the way that we add. So let me make it a comment, and let me add the stuff. I'm gonna use my previous code for saving some time. So you see here, So bottom 1 is added to 0, 0, bottom 2, 1, 0, and so forth, right? Okay. Okay, so now let's run the code and see what we got. All right, yeah. So let's check whether everything is fine here. The 1 is added to 0, 0, so this is 0, 0. 2 is added to 1, 0, yeah, and 3 is 2, 0. So we are on the column 2 and the row 0, and it looks fine. Bottom 4 is 0, 1. It's a column 0 and row 1. It's a little bit weird because in the matrix we got used to, uh, you know, apply the address first by the row and then column, but here it's, the other way around. Anyway, so button 5 is on 1, 1, so column 1 and the row 1. Okay, so if you're wondering, so what's happening here regarding the size of this grid, exactly the same rule we had in the previous layout panes. So the size of the grid will be adjusted based on the highest node that we have and the widest one that we have. So here the highest is the number 1 and the widest is number 5. All right. So let's see what we got more. So spanning. With this layout pane, you can span a node into columns and rows. How can we do that? Instead of, look at this. So instead of just mentioning the node and the col and row, then we can say how many columns we need to span this node and how many row we need to span this node. So by this simple, difference that we see in this method with the previous method we saw, we can just span our node in, whatever is required for that node to accommodate, all right? And as I said, the size of the cells will be determined by the highest and the widest uh, nodes that we have in this grid. Okay, there are a lot of other settings, so I left them for you guys to search and learn by yourself. And our last built-in layout pane is border pane. So this border pane has 5 regions. So like this. So top, right, bottom, and left, right? And these regions can be any size, okay? So if you don't need a region, let's say, for example, in your code, you don't need the right region, just leave it blank. And this layout pane or layout manager is smart enough to make it empty and it does not specify any room for that. And when you resize the window, it maintains these regions separately. All right. Okay. So here I put the code, and as you see, the uh, button number 1 is assigned to the top, the button number 2 is assigned to the right, and these 3 to the bottom, and this guy is to the left, and the number 5 is assigned to the center, right? Uh, okay, so, and also we try to use this alignment to, relocate the nodes based on our needs. For example, the this button top, which is the number one, we set it as the center. You see here, the position dot center. And the bottom left, this guy is again center. The bottom one is again centered here, you see. And we didn't touch this one, and that's why it is, it's leaned to the top, all right? But you see some gap here because this region belongs to the top one, this region. And number two is located right behind, below that. Okay. So it is a very useful way to our classic look of the web pages and home pages. For example, the top, you can use it for the menu, or let's say toolbars, and also the status bar for the bottom. Yeah. And the left one for the navigation panel, and additional information for the right one. And the main content, of course, goes to the center. So this is the way that it's a very classic look for our home pages. Okay, now we finish all of these layout panes. Now let's look at them in a glance. So you see here, Hbox, it just has a a stack like this, and Hbox is like this, and so forth. Yeah, you can go over all of these. So tile pane, grid pane, and in this grid pane, you see that we can span the node inside, over the rows, over the columns, and this is our border pane that we just learned, and flow pane, the stack pane, and Encore pane. Here I put an exercise for you guys. So by using the, whatever you learned so far, try to create this GUI. In this section, we want to learn how to draw shapes. Um, so in, the shapes that we are gonna learn how to draw them is line, rectangle, circle, and also some more complicated shapes, which is combination of this. Okay, so what we need to know that all shapes are node, all right, and also we need to know that a node with child nodes is called branch node. And one of these, as an example of these branch nodes is called group. So group is important in drawing shape because instead of the layout pane, we will be using the groups, right? And also we need to know that um, um, the window that all of the shapes are located is called canvas. Okay. Another thing we need to know is how to coordinate a point. So here is how we coordinate a point. So if this is the canvas, right, and here is the center of the canvas, and the x-axis will be this, and the y-axis will be this. And if this is the node, the point, then we address it as x and y, which is this will be the x, I mean the x-axis, and as I said, this is the y-axis. So for this portion, the x will be from here to here, and the y will be from here to here. So now the question is, how can we draw a line? So for drawing a line, we need first to instantiate the line object. And also we need to set its start and the end, something like this. Okay, so this is the starting point, this is the ending point, and that's it. So, and this is the code, and this is the code, and as I said, we put that line object inside a group, which is playing the role of the layout pane for us. All right, so let me show you quickly uh, there. So I'm gonna make a copy from this guy. So I created a new package for that, and let me refactor it to something meaningful. So let's call it main1 line, for example. Okay. So here is our line. Okay, so yeah, just let me call it line, the title. And for the stage, we won't need all of these stuff, the button, the children here. Okay, what else we need? So we would need to instantiate a line like this, equal to new line. And also we need to set the starting point and the end point. Okay, so first let me get rid of this JavaFX. Yeah. So the line, let's call it set a start. Yeah, start X. Oh, let's say 100, for example. And I can make a copy and make it this as the Y. And this is the starting point. Let's set the end X as, let's say, 500. And make a copy of this. Oops. Make a copy of this and the end Y. And let's say, for example, 150. Okay, so okay, what else we need? Yeah, we can get rid of all of this stuff. We need a group as our, let's call it again root, equal to new group. Okay. Okay, so now we need to set this group inside the line. I mean the line inside this group. All right. Okay, so and here we need to change it to root. I think we are all set here. The only thing that is the size. I believe we need to add more to be able to see everything in one canvas. Okay, so Control Shift F for reformatting the code, and let's run the code. All right, there we go. This is our line. Okay. Okay. Now let's see what we got more. So our next shape will be a circle. The circle, we just need to instantiate a circle and then to set the center, the radius, and put it in a group. And here is the code, and let me show you quickly how it works. Okay, let me make a copy here, and let's call it main2 circle. Okay, what we need to do is, yeah, change the title, the circle, and also we need to instantiate a circle here and change the import. All right, so this set end and start doesn't work anymore. We need to, okay, so that's not a meaningful name. Let's call it shape, a generic name. All right. Okay, so now we need to just set the center first. Yeah, center X, um, let's say 200, and we need center Y as well, and let's this 150. Okay, and also we need to specify the radius. So shape set radius, and let's say 100. Okay, so something interesting, for example, let's fill it with a color, right? And we can say we can use color as a static constant, and I don't know, maybe red is good for this. Okay, so we have a group here, need to add the shape here, and the rest of that I believe is good. All right, so let me run it and see how it works. There we go. And this is our circle. Okay, so our next shape is a rectangle. For drawing a rectangle, yeah, we have the same routine. So we instantiate a rectangle object, the corner point. So this corner point is important. So we need to specify this corner point, and then we need to specify the width and the height and put it in the group as usual. So you see the procedure is somehow the same, is repeating, and with just it's minor changes based on the specific shape that we want to draw. Okay, let's make a copy from this circle, and let's call it rectangle 3, rectangle. All right, okay. So first we change the type, and then we need to change the shape like this, and import the Java FX in shape. Yeah, exactly, this is the same. All right, so all of these are no longer valid. First, as I said, we need to set the corner. So let's say set X, yeah, let's say 100 again. And we have the same things for the Y. Let's say 150. And also we would need the width and the height. So shape set width, let's say 200, and shape set height, and let's say 100. Okay, so this time, yeah, the rest of that will be the same. And this time, let me change the color to something else. Color to, how about our lovely aqua? Yeah, it's aqua. All right. There we go. Okay. To draw a complex shape, we usually use the path class. Okay. So there is an internal pointer that we can use the move to for this, to set the starting point of this complex shape, something like this. So this complex shape will start from somewhere. Let's say, for example, here. So we would say, okay, move to this point. This will be our starting point, and then we start drawing the line with yeah. So this is the move to, as I said, which specify the starting point, and then we will use the line to, which is an object, right? To draw one by one these lines or whatever it is, right? Okay, so and at the end we put all of these guys inside the path, as I said, something like this. So we instantiate a new path like this, and then we add all of those, starting point and all of the, rest of the lines. And finally, we instantiate a group like the previous shapes that we saw, and then we put that path inside this group like this, and the rest of that would be, exactly the same routine that we saw before. Okay, so here is the code, and I'm gonna show you quickly a demo to draw this. Okay, let me make a copy, and let me call it for example, complex shape, let's say. Okay. Okay, so first let me complex shape. This is the title of our window. All right, as I said, okay, so let me get rid of all of this stuff. And yeah, we start with the move to, and let's call it start point equal to new move to. All right, so our starting point was supposed to be 10871. Yeah, so will be 10871 and semicolon here. So okay, so let's see, move to import from the Java FX. All right, okay, so what is, all right, this is the problem. Okay, from now on, we just use the line 2 to create, let's call it line 1, for example, equal to new line 2, and the next one will be 321161. Yeah, all right. So 321, and it was 161 if I don't. Yes, 161, 161, and the rest of that we can go ahead and uh, like this. Yeah, I'm gonna, to save some time, I'm gonna copy from my other code here. All right, so um, now we need to create a path for the complex shapes. We need to create a new path, something like this, and also all right, so What is this path? I have no idea why it is complaining, but we will figure it out. So we need to, get the elements, and then we need to add all of those lines, something like this. Add all. Okay, so we need to add the start point and the rest of that, that we call it line 1 and line 2 and line 3 and line 4 and line 5, something like this. Okay, so the start point, all right, start point. All right. Okay, so now, okay, so this path is still complaining. We try to figure it out. So what's the problem? Maybe, the import is not the correct one. Let me see. The path is JavaFX scene shape path. Or that's silly actually. Yeah, we don't have equal sign here. All right, so we have the group, and then yeah, the rest of that should be equivalent to the previous guys. And okay, so we need to clean up our import, Control Shift O again. Fantastic. And let's see how it works. Yeah, it works fine. The same thing that we really intended. Okay, so now let's see what we got more here. All right. So I put an exercise for you guys to try to produce with the same techniques that we learned. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here. See you guys in the next lecture.